With all these videos that we're recording now, I've realized that I only wear shades of gray anymore. I think for like the last.
You have the uniform. That's what people
Yeah.
do though,
I
right?
wish my wife would let me have the uniform. That sounds so great. I guess there's no reason I can't for work. Just line up my closet over here with gray.
Yeah.
There's a chef I follow on Instagram called Ethan Stoll, and just he does these like little Instagram videos so frequently, and he wears the same shirt and pant combo to the point where people are like commenting pretty often. So now he's like, nope, that's it. That's just what I wear. He's like, it's just my brand. And so he made like a funny meme, like this is the Ethan Stoll like dress pack of if you want to be me for Halloween too.
Oh, that's hilarious.
You just got to get a look and just own it.
Okay, I got something that happened to me 2 days ago now, so I can finally talk about it. It's very emotional. I flooded my house for the third time.
No.
Not the
That
same
takes
house.
talent.
So here's the quick review. At our house in Pittsburgh, I put a sweatshirt in our laundry tub and turned on the water fairly low to let it fill up because it had a stain on it. Forgot that it was there. It overflowed, flooded into our laundry room and down into the basement through the can lights, dripping wet mess. Then our house in Columbus, when we moved back to Columbus, our previous home, I don't even remember. I think I blacked it out, but I flooded something. It wasn't terrible, but it definitely overflowed. And then 2 days ago, I turned on the bathtub, full blast, go upstairs to check on one of the 4 kids. My son Hayden is watching a new Mark Rober video that I've never seen, even though it's like 3 years old. And so I sit down and watch the video, or the rest of the video, for like 10 minutes. I come back downstairs and there is water everywhere. So
Did you realize it and like do the run through the house, or you didn't? Not until you
No,
saw it?
in fact, I just got done tickling him and I was like, oh, that was such a good dad son moment. I feel so good about life right now. I'm walking downstairs and I walk towards the master bedroom and my wife is watching a show with my daughter and she's like, are you not in the bathtub? And I thought she was trolling me because I thought she heard the water, had shut it off, but I still reacted like, oh my gosh, what's going on? But I thought, I'm not going to find it. Open up, and it's like the scene in the horror films where the bathtub is just overflowing, you know, and it's a giant clawfoot style tub. There's probably an inch of water all over the master bathroom floor and leaking downstairs again, which this is the second time in this house that we've had water issues. The first one was the water softener exploding. So it was just a bad day.
Do you feel like you have more sympathy for your kids when they do something in the house? You're like, well, I've flooded 3 times. So
no, because they're young and smart and sharp. And I know I do. I should have sympathy for everyone. I think I need some type of medication. Like, is it echinacea? What is the thing? Something's happening with my brain.
Yeah. There was one that everybody used to take.
I just think I need a vacation. So I'm taking one next week. That's my other.
that'll be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'll fix it.
Just don't.
You have to delete the email off your phone to be on vacation though. I've only done it once, but no pressure. I would recommend that. It's uncomfortable though.
Yeah, that's rough.
You can't do it.
No, I have a call. I have a call scheduled for Monday at noon, but that's it.
No.
I'm just totally disconnected. Yeah, just don't walk out of the room with water flowing. Okay, the more you know. All right, let's get started. But I don't have the outline pulled up. All right. Well, welcome to episode 285. I'm Kevin Oakley, and with me today is Jackie Lipinski and Julie Jarnagin.
Hello. We said we were going to stop doing this, saying the hello every time, and we
can't. I don't know what else to do. Like,
yeah, you don't.
The people on video can see us like doing a cute little wave, but
who's got stories?
We're like, oh, I guess we'll be quiet.
Who's got stories to tell?
We have.
I think we kill the story time music. We just go straight into story time. So
I like it.
We're figuring out this
always
live.
evolving.
It's compelling audio. Julie, you want to go first?
Yeah, so we had kind of a fun conversation with a builder yesterday afternoon about she's hiring for a new position in marketing, and she had multiple candidates she liked and sent out a personality quiz that they do for everybody. But then she was concerned because they came back as introverts instead of extroverts. And this marketer, I guess I would have known she was an extrovert, but we laughed because we started looking through our list about how many of our builder marketers are introverts. And almost all of them, I would say 80%. What would you say, Kevin?
Yeah, it was like introvert, extrovert, introvert, extrovert. Yes. It was not close. It was not a 50-50 split at all.
And a lot of the extroverts were people who had come over from the sales side. So a lot of the introverts had always been in marketing, and a lot of the extroverts had been in sales. So anyway, it just got me thinking, which we could talk about this two ways, either hiring introverts, or for me personally, being an introvert, because I'm here speaking on this podcast and I speak on stage sometimes at Builder Show or the Summit or whatever, but I still very much consider myself an introvert. So I think it's just a fun conversation to have of how are you an introvert, but also at work, which was her concern, being a good communicator, being driven, being engaged, being proactive. I think those were some of the things. Maybe she had been burned in the past by somebody who was too timid, maybe, and she was putting that label on introvert, but really it's two different things, I think.
Well, and I think the first delineation, again, referencing my kids, which is what I know best, there is a difference between an introvert, which is my son Hayden, and full-on monk, like all separation from society, which is my daughter Sydney. If you don't have a tracking device on her, like she thinks we gave her a phone so she can communicate, it's full on like, where are you? Because she will just slip away. Like she never does the dishes. It's just, where is Sydney? We don't know. She just kind of completely off the grid, so to speak. So I think in that scenario, you wouldn't want anyone who's doing, full on hiding.
Yes. Hiding is bad. But too, I think as an introvert, you do have to be aware of that sometimes when you feel comfortable being more withdrawn or quiet, you have to be aware of that when it's time to speak up and time to have your opinions. Usually as introverts, I don't talk much if I don't have much to say, but if I'm prepared and have opinions and have things to say, then I do speak. So that's part of it. It's preparing and just being aware of that. And then I also find just a trick for me as an introvert, as I talk to all these builders, because we don't like to say a lot if we don't have an answer. Like they ask us something, we don't have an answer, we don't know what to say. For me, what has helped me with that is asking more questions. Just keep digging and keep digging and keep digging. Well, why do you say that? Well, how long does that take? Well, what do you usually do? And finally you get somewhere to where you find something. So that's helped me personally.
Yeah.
Jackie,
I think,
are you?
well, I was just going to say, I feel like I used to be an introvert and I've swapped. Is that a normal thing? I feel like I can exist in both elements, and it's not overly exhausting when I'm at events. I do love large events. I love talking to multiple people. I don't need to sit in a room and like be a monk for 30 days after I have a big event. But I do enjoy, I think you said it first, Julie. I do enjoy talking to people, and you're right. Most marketers, we do work with introverts, but when you feel confident in what you're saying, you can talk around it more. And I think that's exactly what you said regarding the timid thing. And especially if their boss is more extroverted, I feel like they're worried because they're going to have to pull more questions out of the person. But if you empower that person and give them the freedom and let them know you're listening also, I think it'll create a really good relationship. So I know we always joke like, online sales, extrovert marketers, introverts, and sometimes it's just this wonderful relationship that they can build together and they can bring each other up. So it is funny how most of us do trend though introverted. So it's,
and there's a good book, Quiet, by Susan Cain. Have either of you read that? It's kind of how it's kind of assumed that, we were talking about this earlier, just because you're confident, some people assume that you're competent, but this is kind of proving the opposite, that a lot of like the strongest leaders sometimes can be more on the introverted side. So that's a good book if you're an introvert or work with introverts, kind of a look into that.
I also think when you ask people questions, or especially opinions, it makes you actually seem more like an expert. And if you're in sales, you know that, quack like a duck, question, answer question. Someone asks you a question, you can give them an answer, but then you need to immediately follow up with a question of your own, because whoever's asking the questions is in control of the conversations. But it's not a control issue. Like you're saying, Julie, I mean, after doing this as long as I have, there's not very many new things, although I did have one that maybe I'll make my story time, but I don't hear a lot of new things, but there's still obviously small wrinkles or adjustments that are different. And if I ever find that my initial reaction is like this empty, I'm just stressing about my basement maybe for the moment, and I'm not able to fully process what the question is. Just helping people go through a thought process. So in your case, Julie, you're saying asking specific questions that are getting more data out, but oftentimes I just say, let's just step back and think this through. Our end goal, because what I find is actually a lot of people don't spend time on their own thinking. And that sounds like a knock. It's not a knock. It's almost, I was talking, prepping for the summit with Mark Davidson again, who's going to deliver us an amazing branding conversation. He's like, you know what, at the end of it, well, yeah, I don't know how much to get into this, but I'm going to go ahead and dive in. I said, look, Mark, at the end of your talk, you don't have to have the answers for people. You just need to help people comprehend what they don't know. Because right now, people think they know what branding is in our space. And clearly from the things you're describing, and I agree with you on, they don't. So we need to just raise that awareness of what they don't know. And then we can create other opportunities for them to fill in the gaps. He goes, actually, that's really interesting you say that, Kevin, because I run a branding company and we are incapable of branding ourselves. Like my co-founder and I have been working on our positioning statement for 10 years. And it's one of those things that you just have a hard time doing on your own. And sometimes you do need an outside person or company to help you. And so I think that's where, even though you're an employee, back to the introvert, you're an introverted employee, maybe, you still can help other people think without taking on their responsibilities. Just that can be your superpower of being able to think things through in a methodical fashion. The other thing to close out that thought, Julie, the other thing we were talking about the other day with this person is that for me, the thing that overcomes my introverted tendencies is conscientiousness. So in the DISC profile, you've got D, I, S, and C. And the C generally is thought of as like critical thinking skills, but also conscientiousness generally of like, I don't want to let a teammate down, or I don't want someone to suffer on my behalf. And so even when there's a hesitation of, I don't know if I want to say that or not, if you can find a way to tap into that feeling of, this might be uncomfortable, but I have to tell them that this isn't a traffic problem and it's a sales problem, even though they're, maybe disagree with that at first. So that can balance. And I think that tends to, I'm thinking through like the best marketers that we work with who are introverts, that seems to be a common trait too, is that they care deeply about the team and are willing to do something that might be uncomfortable for the sake of the team too.
Yeah, for sure. I'm always on those personality tests. I always want to be like a D and an I, a driver and influencer, but no, I'm always on the other end. But it's okay. You just have to learn to lean into it and use that too, like you say.
Yeah, but I think Dawn from Tilson again is a great example of someone who is a self-professed introvert. I'm not labeling her. She gives herself that. She posts hilarious introverted cartoons on Instagram and Facebook, but she hosts a weekly live stream for her builder and does a fantastic job with it. So
absolutely.
All right.
She's the exact person I thought when Julie started talking about this. I was like, oh, that's the person who's gotten out of their shell in the last few years. And it's been really exciting to see them articulate that and how they approach their discomfort. Yeah, my story time also kind of has to do with branding-esque, but I would say my theme, I'm gonna just consistently have a theme, Kevin.
He
Last
loves the
caller,
themes.
I love my themes, is lots of questions around what I've been dubbing reassurance marketing. A lot of builders are looking for ideas to reassure their buyer and potential buyers that this is the right time to buy. And so I think there are two kind of considerations here. One is that it's just remember, it's not always marketing's job to overcome the objection. I think I see sometimes that with, and maybe what we're saying to Julie is it's not you're an introvert, it's you're concerned that they might be a pushover. Because what I'll see is everyone will feed the marketing and person an idea, and they have to overcome the objections that they think is going to come from left field and right field, and the marketing can get sloppy or the messaging can get sloppy. It's well, talk about the $10,000 off, but also put this 2 paragraphs in the homepage, and also make sure to talk about this and do this. And it's like, well, is
And
that
we have to have a picture of someone drinking coffee if it's
Yeah.
if it's a master plan community.
Always default,
Or-
or a pool, someone having a great time in swimming or paddleball. But yeah, it's not always our job, I think, to overcome objections. Where our goal is, let's get the sales, let's get the leads, let's analyze communities, let's work with our team. And then the second thing I think that goes along with that, though, is we talked about this multiple times, but you can only control what you can control. And I heard the phrase just this week that I love, and I was like, oh, that's so unique. A builder had the phrase unreasonable hospitality. That's what they're going for. They want to be unreasonably nice, perfect, treat you like the king and queens that you are buying their house. They want to make sure you're having a great customer experience. And so looking at that, they're controlling what they can control, and that will help them also in the future. But that doesn't mean that they had to start 10 steps up and explain and over explain how that they were going to achieve that. They just knew that they were going to achieve it after the customer, after the person became a customer, and how they analyze that. So you can reassure people at different times in the buying process, but I think just a lot of people are trying to think of different ways to approach that reassurance marketing, and so worth considering, but also not diving too deep in hypotheticals. Kevin, do you have any insight on that?
Well, I think one tangible example, and an unreasonable hospitality, I think, is just like part of the book club of the year.
Yeah.
A lot of builders, leadership teams have been reading that, or sales management. And really that book, if you're in marketing, you should ask every sales manager to read that book, because a lot of what you're describing is marketing trying to fill the gap. Right now, people have higher cancellation rates than they would like in some parts of the country. And it's kind of like the fact about when to deliver mints to get the most tip possible at a restaurant. Like, it's not to put it in the tip jar or put it in a jar on the way out the door. That's not going to impact. But if you do, give mints, it's a study's been done several times. You can go check the thing. But in the restaurant industry, that if you want to increase your tip, and you're a waiter or waitress, you just grab, don't give them one fortune cookie for each of their meals. If I was the waiter, I'm bringing you like a stack of 20 for a table of 6, and I'm giving you the check, and I'm going to get a higher tip because of it. And yet still a lot of people don't do that. We know that the single most important thing to do to reduce cancellation rates is for the salesperson to call the customer back again the following day. We know that there's buyer's remorse is going to kick in, and yet we don't make that call because we're nervous to do it, or we think, what's the point? Or maybe that's going to give them an excuse to cancel because now I'm calling them. We just have to do what we know we need to do, and that's not marketing's job to create a new reel that will help everyone who happens to watch it to realize that they shouldn't cancel. I think that's kind of what you're saying. There are general themes we've talked about. Like right now, affordability is a theme of I do believe you have to say that everything you're selling is affordable. Whether it is or isn't doesn't really matter, because the customer is thinking about that being a challenge in today's world. And is that an affordable price, or can I afford it? And so if you don't participate in that kind of collective thought, then you are missing out. But you don't have to do it the same way. And I totally agree that every problem isn't one. I mean, on the other hand, I would say, and you use the word marketing, which my first boss, remember, said is everything involved in a company. So marketing can somehow help almost everything. Advertising clearly cannot. And email clearly cannot.
Yeah. And I think it goes along with what you're saying. It's I feel like people from all different departments are asked, they know marketing can solve the problem. So they're asking them create that messaging that will reassure people. But it's, I think, a collective as a team that you need to work on of what you can be doing at different points of interacting with the customer that should be analyzed in different ways and thought out more properly too. So that's my story time. I got Kevin.
Mine's a quick one because Julie's got a hard stop, so we gotta keep the train moving.
Yeah, sorry guys.
But I did a review for a new builder this week, and the number one source of traffic by a factor of, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 was display. You know, just made up numbers. 1,000 people from display in a week, 20 from search, 20 from social, 42 from organic. And just as a heads up, if you ever see display as your top number one source of traffic, text me 412-779-8758 and I will help you. That doesn't mean I'm going to work with you or that we're going to work with you, but I will just there are very few black and white things. Again, in my mind, it's a lot of gray and a lot of depends on what your company's culture is and what your sales goals are and margins and all the rest. Display should never, ever, 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 ever be your number one source of traffic, ever. Any disagreements there?
Well, and it's just, you can get traffic. If that is your only goal, I want more traffic, and that's the one thing I'm reporting on, and that's the one thing I'm telling leadership about, that's not hard to get traffic that actually does what you want them to do once they get there. That's a secret. How does it convert? What does it do?
You know what? My coffee always kicks in about this far into the podcast and I get a little bit aggressive or excited. So here's a better soundbite for Olivia to pull. If you ever hear someone say the words programmatic, I'm just telling you that is a clear symbol that person is either out to make money off of you or doesn't understand what they're doing. There's a whole bunch of marketing agencies who listen to this podcast. I know, because I can see, and also what they talk about. And I just made you furious at me. But the word programmatic is code for like overcomplicating simple things so that I can appear smarter or make more money. Period. End of story. I have yet to see any programmatic ad campaign that has produced exponential results or even results to justify the additional expense of programmatic. But people do it because they want traffic or they want sales, and someone says words they don't fully understand, which leads us to our first news update, the Market Proof Academy. August 15th and 18th. It wasn't going to be until the fall or early winter, but so many of you saw other people posting about getting certifications on LinkedIn and other places that even sales managers and salespeople were like, should I get certified? Can I get certified? To be clear, if you're a salesperson, you probably shouldn't take this class. In fact, I would say don't. We actually haven't talked about this with anyone else, but we might do one for salespeople. That would be an abbreviated kind of one day. Here's how just to look at your community's data, and really more data analysis than how to run ads, because we don't need salespeople running their own ads. Although I did hear from someone who that's how they were running things until a couple months ago, is they just reimburse salespeople for
it's horrifying.
Platforms. They also were reimbursing realtors for doing the same. Interesting strategy. But marketproofacademy.com, link in the show notes, August 15th to the 18th. It's still going to be a limited class size of 15, max 20 people. And We already have, I think, 5 spoken for because we sent an email today about it. But everyone is looking for a better understanding of at least the basics, and this goes beyond the basics. But there still is really nothing like it. It will be virtual. Some people are happy about that. Some people are sad about that. But when we go through digital platforms, it's one of those things where everyone's seeing the screen or having your own screen pulled up. It's harder. We've done one in person. It works, but it is harder to do with more than a handful of people because you almost need the teacher, so to speak, looking over your shoulder at times to help.
And you need some brain breaks too.
Yeah, I think it used to be 2 full days, and now we're like 4 half days. And
4 half days is the perfect mix.
Yeah.
But it is like learning a language. I was on a leadership call this week, and someone that we've been just working with for the last 3 months or so was like, Kevin, I love it. I need more, but also my world is chaotic. And I'm like, oh, this is perfect analogy is trying to learn another foreign language. Like my wife is slowly, very slowly, in her opinion, learned Spanish over like 4 years, self-teaching, doing a Zoom course now and then. I can't learn a foreign language that way, or I'm telling myself I can't, therefore I can't, however you want to look at it. I'd have to immerse myself for like 2 to 4 weeks in that country and learn the language there. That's just how I learn things. My ADD, I'm all in and I go fully down the rabbit hole. This is that for a lot of people. It's like, I understand, Kevin, when we're on a call or we're looking at it, or I see a piece of content you put out, I'm like, that makes sense. And then real life hits and I have no chance for repetition to practice it, or I don't have the resources at my fingertips to use it. And so that's what this really exists for, is that protected half day time to really dive in and at least within those 3 to 4 hours every day, get enough repetitions of a concept to really get it nailed down to the point where you can take an exam and get certified in analytics, search, or social advertising.
Yep.
Awesome.
All right, let's have some real fun from IGN.com. Apple officially reveals Vision Pro, its new $3,400 mixed reality headset, and the first Apple product that Kevin Oakley has ever seen unveiled that he has no desire to purchase.
Oh, I was curious what you were going to say about this one.
I have zero desire because I've already bought a $1,500 Quest Pro, which the only difference is the interface. People are going to scream at me and say, this is supposed to have better clarity. I do wear glasses now when I look at the computer for long periods of time. So I wear my glasses when I use this headset. I do not see pixels. I don't see a lot of graininess. There's not a issue with the refresh rate. There's nothing about the device that I just completely hate. You can hook up an external battery pack to it if you wanted to. It's kind of all just more of the same, except for you can control it with your eyes and your fingers.
And what do you use your Quest Pro for?
I don't. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I used it like 7 times, and now it sits on a credenza underneath my computer screen on the wall. I use a 48-inch television as my TV / computer, and it just sits there and looks cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the same. I watched the little unveiling. I read everything, and I was like, I cannot think of anything on this that I would want to put the ski mask on in my house.
I think they showed an example of someone doing a presentation with 3 people virtually. I'm just like, it just seems like overkill for something that they're solving a problem that isn't even a problem still. Like maybe if they rolled these out in the beginning of COVID and like, okay, let's get on the bandwagon and let's all feel more in tune for with your team. But yeah, I don't know. I think the memes have been more fun to watch. I think just like the iPhone, I think there was a clip where it was like the screen was cracked and it's like, and that'll be $3,000. So,
right.
like,
right.
And
I'm not super techie, so I wondered like if this was something Kevin was really wanting. There it is.
It honestly looks very similar.
Yeah.
People have already commented
it looks better.
The Apple headset is heavier because it's metal and glass. This is plastic. The battery's at the back of the head, so it's well balanced and lightweight because it is plastic. The only reason that this is going to end up working is, okay, not having to have a controller in your hand would be maybe like, I'm not going to use it and walk around, not because I can't see, because I can. This headset will let you see. the world around you in an AR way, but not having things in your hand. Maybe I can like wear it while I'm, putting something together, like IKEA, could have an AR app that would help me put the next, no more cribs, no more cribs for the Oakley house, but whatever from IKEA we would get. It's just, there isn't, watch a movie on it. The Apple one is 2 hours. The battery pack lasts 2 hours. There are movies that last longer than 2 hours. They show you wearing it on a plane. The plane I would want to wear it on is a 10-hour trip to Qatar. It would not be like I have to get out of reality for my 1 hour trip to Atlanta. It's not worth packing that for my 1 hour trip to Atlanta.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I just completely and the whole thing is this would only really work, and it would work with this device that I have now, the Oculus Pro, if all of my friends had it and coworkers had it. So you need this network effect, which is not going to exist with a $3,500 product. There's not going to be enough people who have it. So that's all the negatives. Here's what I think things can get interesting. Well, no, one more negative thing. All the AR, VR companies who were really sure that this was about to prove to everyone that this was mainstream now, you could just watch their collective excitement for this announcement be like, oh, shoot. If you hear there's an audio file of people who were in the room when they announced the price, they were laughing. These are the biggest Apple fan boys and girls of them all in the room, and they were laughing at the price point.
It's 3 times as much as my first car, if that makes sense.
You can buy 3 MacBooks for the same price.
Now, and I'll say my one, because I have no use for the, I'm a mom and all I think about is my kids walking around with it all day and it driving me crazy, being like, take that off. But all I can think is the opportunity for it. If one developer, somebody comes out with something
killer app,
more useful and amazing for it, then maybe I'm there. But right now there's no use for it. And obviously I'm not like a gamer. Some people are. I have no use for it. So if somebody develops something to pull me to that side, okay. But right now it's nothing.
Okay. Here's where things could get interesting. The Apple ecosystem, you can't bet against. Apple engineers, long-term, you shouldn't bet against. And most of their devices, when they've first initially been released, the Watch, AirPod Pros, or AirPods, everyone's like, that's stupid thing sticking out of your ear. Who's going to want to wear that? And then everyone got it. But the ecosystem I think people are forgetting about is Apple Plus. So Apple wants to create their own content, and they are getting more and more into live streaming sports and concert content. So they're the exclusive, I believe, the exclusive streaming provider for MLS soccer. Now, if with your headset, you get a year's subscription or a lifetime subscription to attend every Taylor Swift concert in the front row or in different seats that you can swap between, and you can attend those concerts again with friends or family who also have a headset. Now you're talking like courtside seats at every NBA game included. Those are potential, again, golf. Like you think about these people who are rabid fans around a sport, even to be able to be the running back, say, for your favorite NFL team and watch the game from his position on the field. So there's some software and ecosystem stuff that I think is interesting about it. But even, people who for a living just analyze Apple and the company, they're saying it's probably 5 years before they get a device that's below $1,000. And it's I'm glad that Apple's, moving forward, but I don't know why they didn't just say, hey, here's a cool demo of something. And if you want to develop software for it, you can, but even the fact they're announcing it now for release next year is very surprising. And then the final thing is they're calling it the Pro, which means that they probably have a non-Pro version that they already know about and plan for. So what if the non-Pro version is plastic, more similar to an Oculus, but sub $1,000?
Yeah,
I don't think it solves the other
approach.
challenges.
I think it's just yeah, you're right. They're positioning themselves for that. But I think the year thing is what you're saying, Kevin, is people can jump on the bandwagon. I think it's people with like cryptocurrency. There's all these things people feel like lately they've been missing out on as soon as it released. And so maybe, oh gosh, maybe what they also feel like is if we announce this, so many people are going to jump on, create devices and things for people to create for it and create more content around it. Yeah, not a great look.
Oh, we can't hear you.
I just put on my Oculus headset, so feel free to meme away on me. In fact, that's why they think Tim Cook didn't put on a headset, is just because they were afraid of memes being created about him, just like Zuckerberg.
Fair concern.
But you know how people act when you're at an event and you whip out a phone, like a family event, and all of a sudden everyone's like, "Whoa, get me out of the frame! Don't take a picture of me. I'm not ready. I'm not dressed." Can you imagine? They're trying to say, wear your headset and push a button and recreate the experience in VR for yourself later. Can you imagine, like, hey guys, I'm just wearing my goggles here. I'm just going to record this whole thing so we can relive it over and over again, even though your hair isn't ready. Like, no one's going to let you do that.
Yeah. No. And they showed like the dad had it with his 2 little kids and he was taking pictures of his kid. I was like, that's some good parenting right there with your ski mask on.
Yeah. Again, maybe, and you should let us know if this is the case. Maybe we're those people who used to say, I'm never going to use a cell phone in a restaurant. That would be the worst thing ever. Maybe we're those people.
Maybe.
We're all going to be wearing this in 5 years, but I don't think so. Next up from probuilder.com. Some lenders now offer bargain mortgages, but experts say they may not be a good idea. Last month, United Wholesale Mortgage, the nation's largest home mortgage lender, announced it would begin offering loans requiring down payments of just 1% of the home's purchase price. Fellow lender Rocket Mortgage soon followed in its footsteps. And these are all leveraging, I believe, a new government program that allows for these lower down payments or kind of creative mortgages. Which, when's the last time you heard about creative mortgage solutions? Not a good thing. But what do you all think about this article?
I was in home building in 2008, so I understand why it's different. In this, you still have to have a good credit score. You still have to have a job. But it does scare me that they're going to be giving mortgages to people who are essentially saying they have no savings. I mean, that's it. I see how it's not as risky as it was in 2008, but it still makes me nervous.
Yeah. I would agree. I think at first impression, you're just like, this doesn't feel right. And this doesn't feel good. And statistically speaking, when you provide things at a lower cost to people, they value them less also. So I could think that maybe the people we're also thinking who are going to be moving to these houses might not keep up with the upkeep of the house. And so there's kind of that, because what you're saying, right, Julie, is that they don't necessarily have the savings. And it's not in here, but it was something I think Zillow or Redfin put out in the last 2 weeks, where it was like the hidden cost of homeownership is between $9,000 and $15,000 a year. So not having that
in terms of maintenance and materials.
In terms of maintenance and upkeep. So it's also that it's like they'll get their foot in the door, but you also need that nest egg, and they won't have that. So that's, I think, the scary part. Because even having good savings and moving into a house, for me, it's just like, oh, okay, we need that. Oh, okay, we need that. It can get aggressive at certain points when things break in your house for your savings. So, but
yeah, this is a quote from mortgage lender Shmuel Shayowitz. Making it easier for everybody to get a mortgage with only 1% is like putting candy in front of a baby. People should not be buying homes, will be encouraged and enabled to buy those homes. Yeah. And as a contrast, the average down payment for a home in the first quarter of the year is 13%, according to Realtor.com. So going from 13 on average to these programs with 1%.
Yeah.
Now, would you tell your marketers to make sure people know there's 1% mortgage opportunity? What do you think?
Yeah. I probably,
know.
you know, they can
Really
they
strong
can find
opinions on
that
this
journey.
one.
Yeah. They can go down that path if they want, if that's where they think their buyers are. But the biggest feedback we are hearing right now from people is how price sensitive the potential buyers are and how like on the fence they are with buying a house too. And that's why we were talking about reassurance marketing. So that can be a layer of it of we have solutions for you.
Mhm.
Don't hold us accountable. But these are solutions that you could approach if it is necessary.
Well, and it doesn't fix the payment problem. A lot of what I'm hearing, like when people are coming out with new communities or new plans or new whatever, is that then people, when they see the payment, what it's going to be, that's what they're having problems with. And this doesn't fix that issue.
Yeah, I would, and I'm not saying this is right. This is just my initial reaction to this is I would absolutely be talking about the fact that you can get in one of our homes for as little as 1% down. Then I'd make sure that my sales team and my finance company never let anyone do that. But I would have the conversations begin because there's a whole bunch of people who aren't even considering. I mean, you look at direct traffic, the last 30 days on average for home builders has declined almost, I think it's 15, 16%. Those are people who are no longer coming back to your site. They have given up as rates hit close to 7. And so I think, again, I want to engage and have conversations with customers always. And so if I have an issue with lack of conversations, I would talk about the fact that this is out there. And then I would explain to them once they were in my sales office or talking to me online, why this may not be the best situation for them, but we have other things that are better and might work for them.
Yeah, I think it's that problem we consistently see with a on-site sales agent not feeling confident reaching back up and following up. But when you empower them with news or information that could benefit the buyer, obviously they're more proactive to be reaching out. So just loading the resources.
We're flying ahead. Sorry. Julie's leaving in like
over 5 minutes.
6 minutes. So we're going to get through one more article and then favorites. A third of U.S. home buyers from Redfin are paying cash. That's just a quick reminder. You can read the whole article and link in the show notes. Yeah. Just a reminder that mortgage rates aren't everything to everyone. In fact, 1/3 of the people looking are finding some other method, whether it be parents, grandparents, inheritance, investments that they're pulling out, but they're saying, you know what? I'd rather find a way to pay cash than mess with interest rates altogether. And then last one from digiday.com. Can Meta remain the holy grail of paid advertising with challengers, and Advantage Plus? Advantage Plus is their similar to Performance Max, kind of set it and forget it based upon conversions, which we don't really recommend using. But I thought this quote was really interesting. Halfway through 2023, a viable solution or challenger platform has yet to present itself in a meaningful way. Mm-hmm. There's still really no other option for those who need large amounts of higher quality traffic outside of search than Meta's platform.
Yeah, we would love people to have multiple options and more ways to diversify their advertising. We are all for it, but there's no data to show that that's anything's there yet.
That's right. Anyone have a favorite? Ready to go?
I do. I have been like working in my flower beds a lot lately. I know it's like my old person hobby right now. And I just now figured out, maybe y'all know this, but if you take a picture of a plant, you don't have to have a special app. You just go to the photo, swipe up, and it will say plant, and you click on it and figure out what kind of plant it is. I did not know if that existed, and now I use it all the time.
I have a plant app that always tries me to pay $30 a year for it. So that is
you
going
can do
away.
it free on your iPhone.
Well, and that was another thing that Spencer Askoff talked about at the Builder 100 conference is all these AI startup companies. It's like, that's cute. You're a feature, not a company, because what's going to happen is all of the dominant platforms are just going to integrate it. And that thing that you were creating as like download my plant identification app, Apple saw the amount of people using that, and similar to Amazon Basics was like, that's cute, squashed like the bug you are. And now it's a feature as part of the iOS system.
Love it.
My favorite is the documentary Making of the Meme King. It's a profile of GameStop's Ryan Cohen. He's the one who started Chewy.com, beat out Amazon in the pet category, and then went on to make the stonk craze of GameStop and Bed Bath & Beyond and something else. Fascinating documentary. and it's something that happened recently. So a lot of good takeaways from that, I thought.
I'll say there's a app on everyone's phone just called Reminders if you have an iPhone. And I would say that a lot of people don't know you can share a reminder sheet with people in your family / your husband and have a consistent running grocery list to always be on top of when things run out and what's going on and always stay consistent. So it's always fun where you just rediscover your own apps have abilities that you didn't even know were possible. So that's also a fun one. So
you can also share notes and use that as a way to get around your parents trying to see who you're texting and what you're saying. Just share a note, and then everyone goes in and writes notes.
Good to know.
Or if
Just
you're
be on the
at
watch for
a
that one.
summit, you can share notes and it can be work related.
Oh, I think that you absolutely should do that. Anytime you go to a conference, you should find 4 or 5 people and just say, hey, let's do a shared note doc. And as long as everyone pulls their weights, you get to stay in it. But that's a great thing to do.
Yeah.
A lot of companies do that when they send groups of people somewhere. All right. That'll do it for this week. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Bye.
Everyone.